All right, this is Slangin The Bizkit. This is going to be episode 30. The intros are done because I've been hazed for the last 28 episodes. So welcome back to the podcast, joined by my amazing co-host, Mr. Dave Wheeler, as always.
What'd you call me?
I don't even know what I called you, to be honest.
Good to be back as always, sir. Lots to cover today, including the Rat is back at it again. Brad Marchand. Spoiler alert, that's coming up a little bit later on the show. If you don't follow him on Twitter, we'll let you know what he's been doing and who he's been poking at.
Yeah, we got a busy show today. We got a lot of Fedzino stuff to catch up on, All-Star Game stuff, Mr. Brad Marchand. We got a fully loaded show. One thing I did want to mention off the top that I forgot to mention last week. So last week's episode talking about my glory days, my glorious 16 minutes in Englsih River. And David Bull, he currently plays for the new Red Lake Miners in Englsih River, and he messaged me the other day, and he says, "Hey, Trav, do you recognize this house?" And he just sent me this picture of a house in the middle of the night, and I said, "I have no idea whose house this is." And he said, "That's your old billet's house." And I said, "No way." And he said, "Can you give me a shout out for reminding you?" And I said, "Sure, I'll do you one better. I'll tell a story that I forgot to mention on last week's episode." So,
I hope this is a young blood story.
This is a really good one, actually. So Englsih River Miners, 2014, 2015, my roommate and I, I'm not going to say his name for obvious reasons, but so I'm living in the upstairs billet room and he's in the basement billet room. Now keep in mind the shower is right across from my room. So shower is right beside me. He has to walk upstairs to the shower and then come back downstairs. So my roommate, he had a Bluetooth speaker at the time. And so whenever he would shower, he would bring his Bluetooth speaker, he'd just crank his music, listen to it, and then go back downstairs. So one day I'm just, editing away on a video at the time in my room. He showers, okay, he's done, goes downstairs. All of a sudden, maybe 3 minutes later, I start hearing some adult-rated noises, if you know what I'm saying. And I get up and I walk outside of my room and I look in the bathroom and it's coming from inside the bathroom. And there's the Bluetooth speaker on full blast and I can hear this. And I'm thinking to myself, he forgot to disconnect his phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as soon as you mentioned Bluetooth, I said, I know where this is going. I actually worked a very similar bit into my stand-up once upon a time. And yeah, you only make that mistake once.
That's a true story, by the way. That's a very true story. That was my roommate at the time. He was a grizzled vet, 20 bomb on the team as well. So shout out to him. He knows who he is if he's listening.
We all have our needs, Travis Ridgen. We all have our needs.
We have many needs, including getting back to action with this new hip. But just a little friendly reminder, if you're new to the podcast, my name is Travis Ridgen. I play for the Motor City Rockers, number 33 on the ice, number 33, well, actually not on the ice, on the bench. Done with season-ending hip surgery, which we are currently rehabbing, and then joined by my amazing co-host who hosts the number one morning radio show in the city of Winterpeg, the Polar Vortex Winterpeg. Man, it's cold out. Mr. Dave Wheeler.
Whereabouts are you in your recovery? I'm curious.
So we have some big news. So this is hot off the press as of last night. According to my physio, I'm allowed to get in skates in less than 2 weeks.
Wow, that's 3 weeks quicker than we heard last time.
Which was a month quicker than previous. Like it is unbelievable how far ahead of schedule this whole rehab process has been. So if you're new joining the show, I had hip surgery to fix a grade 2 torn labrum in my hip that was kind of traversing around the side with the tear, as well as shaving off a bone growth on my femur and then touching up some cartilage work. It's supposed to be a top to bottom, about a 6-month recovery from just the healing process, kind of getting the muscles going again because they atrophy from not doing anything, and then getting my range back. But the fact that we are 6.5, almost 7. No, sorry, that's a lie. We're almost 8 weeks here. Almost 8 weeks, and I'm going to be back in the skates, just skating casually, no gear yet. But it's looking very much likely I can be in full gear maybe even by the middle of April. And my physio told me I probably could have skated last night if I wanted to, just in skates, but we haven't done any testing to kind of see how my hip handles load, like actual weights. And the thought process is if somebody crashes into me, if I fall, there's going to be a lot of torque on the hip, so we don't know how it's going to go, but skating itself would be fine. So all in all, there's a lot of progress happening in my hip, and it actually got me thinking the other day. Obviously, I follow up with our GM in Motor City every now and then, kind of give them updates with what's going on. And I thought to myself, this could line up quite nicely to get me back in Motor City right before the end of the season if all goes well. I guarantee I'm not going to play a game. But to get back on the ice with the team in a competitive environment, kind of seeing how things are, and then also show the team like, hey, did you forget about me? Remember how broken I was before I left, and now see what I can do? So that was a thought that crossed my mind. It should match up quite nicely with the end of the season, right before playoffs. And when I get back into full gear, the question being is, are we going to have speed bumps Is there going to be a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort when I start skating? I'm supposed to have that. That's going to be where the biggest hurdles do come. But it is a possibility with a playoff run that I could join Motor City for the playoffs just to practice and kind of get back in action and rejoin the team. So it's exciting.
What do you test the quick recovery to? Your age or just good people taking care of you? Maybe a little bit of both.
I'm trying to figure that out myself, to be honest, because before the surgery, I was spending so much time on a day-to-day basis, like babying the injury, the rolling, the stretching, like every single day, Monday to Friday, 2 hours before practice, just getting the tractor going. And now that the problem that I was trying to accommodate is gone, I don't know if that kind of set myself up for success. I don't know if my beautiful, attractive young surgeon, if he did an amazing job, if he's just the greatest surgeon in the world, do I have the best physio in the world? I don't know. But what I do know is I feel great. It's going very smooth. Like there's been really no hurdles. I mean, like they told me crutches for 2 weeks. I ditched them after 2 weeks or 2 days. Everything's been ahead of schedule. I don't know. My diet, I changed my diet a little bit. That's really the only thing that's changed. Just a super high protein diet, and I got rid of all the oat milk and the almond milks for just dairy milk, like cow milk, moo milk, just crushing it like nobody's business.
Careful, lots of sugars in there. Pasteurized milk's got lots of sugars in there. So,
actually, this is one thing that maybe we should mention is that if you've been following the podcast over the past 2 months, might be looking a little bit chunky, and it's not just because of the Pacific Northwest flannel, because it was minus 13 here the other night. It's because my calorie intake is probably hovering around 3,000 ish a day. So I'm currently weighing. I weighed myself in this morning 226, which is about 18, almost 20 pounds heavier than I started the season at. And my thought process was give my body everything it needs, so there's no excuses. We can heal everything as fast as possible, and then when the time comes, we'll get skinny, and I'll start suffering in June when I gotta cut down the weight.
Well, the fact that you're going to be on in mid-April, man, that's really exciting. Like really exciting news. So where does that skating start? Right there in the heart of Vancouver?
Yeah. So the plan was just like with the actual skates themselves, just throwing them on, hop on the ice with my goalie coach Pascal, and just hang out at one of his sessions, just kind of feel the edges out, feel skating again, kind of dip the toes in the water, so to speak, to see how this new range feels. And then once we start testing actual front weighted squats, jumps with weights and some real load management, then we can get into full gear, testing things out, a lot of lateral movement. It's weird because I have so much more strength and range in my surgically repaired hip right now than my natural quote-unquote good hip, which is, I've been told to stop calling my good hip because it's not anymore. Like the internal rotation has gone from 6 degrees to 20 right now. I wish I would have done this sooner. I wish I would have had 6 months to do it sooner, but I wish I would have got it done sooner because this is fun.
Well, and listen, you're it's pretty standard for somebody who's gone through surgery and got something fixed and been, man, I wish I would have done this sooner. But the circumstances of what you were going through at the time, trying to find a job, trying to find a team, I mean, it just wouldn't have been feasible because if you got it done sooner, it's possible that you wouldn't have found a gig.
Well, and that was the thought process too, was I got this opportunity in Motor City, competition's tough, there's a lot of or a lack thereof jobs, so I got to get the steroids, I got to get off to a start, got to get my foot in the door, get people aware of what's going on, that I can actually play at this level, and then we'll deal with it from there. And actually, that's a good transitioning point because I spoke to my agent last night about this. So obviously, again, to reiterate, the Motor City Rockers, they own my rights. That is the team that owns me right now. So there's no going anywhere until after the season when the expansion draft happens and we talk about re-signing and these things. But as far as Europe is concerned, my agent was talking about possibly Belgium, France, Germany, and obviously the motherland where I've been so fond of the last 2 years is Sweden. Where specifically, not sure who's going to be looking for a goalie. So it's just these are the places we're looking at. But as far as the Fed goes, there's the one team where we're not going to mention names or people of power, but there's a person in management with one team who offered to make me the highest paid goaltender in the league. And then there's another team that wants to sign me day one of free agency. So there will be no retirement anytime soon. And I think that whoever is going to have me playing there is going to be getting a muchly improved goaltender from years past. And I think it's going to be a success. I think one idea I had too this morning was, so the Fed is doing a free agent camp, I believe in August. I think it's in Elmira. And all the teams management will come out also from the SP, the East Coast. And it's just kind of a showcase to kind of show, I guess, if you can get an invite to main camp. Now, obviously, I'm on a roster. I'd have to talk to the guys in Motor City about if this is okay or not. But that could be a good test to kind of see how the hip is doing. We get on the ice in April, kind of slowly get into things, kind of work through all the speed bumps, and then if I went out to a free agent camp, just kind of see, okay, this is how the hip is dealing with competition. We're feeling good, or maybe we got to make some changes. But that's there's a lot of promise on the way in Motor City, in the Fed, and specifically for me playing hockey. I'm excited.
What I was just thinking in the back of my head was, if you at any point, for whatever reason, end up in Sweden with your girlfriend, they're not even going to bother looking at her passport. They'll be like, welcome home. Come on in.
Hej. Välkommen till svenska. Ja, jävla.
Yeah, that's really good. That's it's funny. A friend of mine spent some time over in Finland, and I think a lot of North Americans will just think that, oh yeah, they all speak the same languages in Norway, Finland, Sweden. They don't. They're very, very different languages. But the one thing that amazes me about all those Scandinavian countries is that they all grow up speaking great English, because they learn it. It's not like your French second language course that you got in grade school in Canada, or your Spanish second language in the United States. Like, they actually immerse them in speaking English. So I'm sure you had very few problems when you were over in Sweden getting around and speaking English to anybody.
It's crazy. I cannot think of one person, well, at least off the top of my head, that I had an issue communicating with. Either they know little bits of English, which is good enough to communicate in and out with, or they're very fluent in English, or worst case, you use Google Translate, which I can probably say once or twice I did use to kind of communicate. Like, you punch it in your phone, like, hey, like, this is what I'm talking about, and then it's smooth running. But Sweden is the most English fluent language country on the planet, where English is not the first language, to give you an idea. Like, it's very smooth. And keeping in mind, Sweden, obviously they speak Swedish, the Finns speak Finnish, the Norwegians speak Norwegian, and so on and so forth. So I never had any issues with that. But I was doing...
I speak two Englishes. I speak two languages, English and bad English.
Yeah, it's not... Canada claims to be bilingual, but we're not there as much as the Swedes are. But there was a video that I was editing the other day, which is going to go up for Sunday, so obviously it's gone up at the time of this podcast, going live. But it's a 19-minute travel kind of epilogue documenting every place I've ever traveled to in my career, from Parksville, BC, to Halifax, Nova Scotia, Sweden, Norway, all the U.S. states and everything. It's a really cool little piece that I put together, and a lot of Sweden in there too, the motherland in Scandinavia.
Do you have a favorite spot? Do you reveal that on the vlog?
I don't pick favorites. I had a video go viral, somewhat viral. It's got about 750,000 views right now from in the spring, and it was a 20-minute recap, about a 12-minute recap. My 2 years living in Sweden, my experience. And this is actually a true story. So it was February, it might have been March of 2022, and my mom FaceTimes me and says, I'd like you to do a video, kind of show me what Sweden's like, because obviously, like, I'm not FaceTiming her 24 hours a day. She can't come there with me and experience it. And I say all these nice things about how much I love Sweden. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do this video for my mom. Do this video, document the food, travel, living, costs, all these types of things. Put it up, does okay. And then about a week later, hits the algorithm, and since then it's been putting up 4 or 5, sometimes 10,000 views in a day, every day, since I put it up live in April, and it's got almost 750,000 views. And funny enough, I think if you look in the comment section, half the people are from Scandinavia saying, who is this man with the hockey frilla trying to speak a language, and he can't say the oohs and the uhs, and he's not very Swedish. 2 years in Sweden, you can't speak the language. That's literally half the comments in the comment section. It's hilarious. But
wow. But all you have to respond and say, I'm really good at eating my meatballs.
Actually, I do respond in somewhat Swedish. I tell people, hey, jävla svenska fita. If you're Swedish, you're going to know exactly what I just said. If you're not, maybe just leave it at that.
It's almost got a little Italian flair in there, too, with you moving your hands around so much. Hey!
I was actually told, this is 2 summers ago, Nick the goalie, I know you watch him on TikTok, he's a good friend of mine here in Vancouver.
Yeah, he was just at the All-Star game.
Yes, he was. He just actually passed 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. So, Nick, shout out to you. Congrats on the success, man. Very well deserved. But we were driving, him and I, through, I want to say Surrey, about 2 years ago. And we drive past this Fiat dealership. And he says to me, you know what Fiat stands for, Trav? And I said, what's that? He says, it stands for Fix It Again, Tony.
Yep, absolutely. Good old Italian maker, Fiat. They've come a long way. I mean, you can do that with almost anything. Ford was found on road dead.
found
No, there goes a Fiat or a Ford sponsorship anytime soon.
especially in Motor City. The headquarters ain't too far away, so I think we blew that, but that's okay. We'll edit it out later. There has been a couple things shaken on in Motor City, though, since I left. We just traded our player coach, Ever Thompson, ET, I know he listens to the podcast, to Binghamton. And I found it a little bit confusing. We traded ET, who's got about 20 points in 20-some-odd games, our player coach, for a guy in Binghamton who only has 1 point in 20 games. So I don't know. And also the rights to Ian White were also dished in that deal as well. So I don't know what was going on there. I do know that I owe Everett $20. This is a true story. We were in Binghamton, and coach says, hey, we're going to go get a post-game meal. And so I assumed if coach is suggesting it, coach is going to pay for it. The team's going to pick up the tab. So I didn't bother going back to the bus. I left my backpack and everything there. We go there, and one of the guys says, Trav, what are you getting? I was like, I don't know, whatever the team's going to get us. And he says, you got to buy your own meal, buddy. That's what the per diem money's for. You got to bring that. You can't just pocket it every road trip. And I say, no, shit. I left my wallet in the bus. The bus is about a 20-minute ride back. And obviously the guy's thinking, yeah, sure, Trav.
Yeah, good
left
old
your
empty
wallet
wallet.
back.
Oh, good old empty wallet Ridgeon at it again.
Actually, I have a Rob from Bud Ends. He likes to call me Tyrannosaurus Trav because anytime it comes to picking up the bill, I can't reach in there to grab my wallet.
I can't make my bed.
It's exactly like the Family Guy clip when Peter's like, it's almost as annoying as trying to go out to dinner with the Tyrannosaurus Rex. And, oh, it's okay, Peter. I got the bill this time. Yeah. Peter, would you mind getting it this time? Not again. But anyway, yeah, so I didn't have my wallet. And then ET says, Trav, don't worry about it. I got you. Spent $20 on a calzone for me. Great guy. Everett, I owe you $20. I haven't forgotten, and I will pay you when I see you next year in Binghamton because you're with the Binghamton Black Bears. So I do owe him some money. Please don't bust out my kneecaps next time we come to town. And then also our good friend, both yours and mine, Ian White. He's up in the East Coast. People have been asking about how he's doing. And I think I'll put it up on the screen for the video version of the podcast. But he put up an Instagram post the other day that said, all the young bucks ask me how I do it. Give me a coffee, give me a dip, and find me a spot in the sun and give me a chair. That's how you do it. 38 years young, Ian White, Winnipeg boy.
Good for him. Good for him. Now, you've had more of an experience with him over the past year. I was able to watch him a little bit at the first part of the season on the YouTube as the Federal League puts all their games on YouTube for free. But do you think that's the shelf for him, or do you think he's still got time or the ability to maybe get up to the A, maybe even back a cup of coffee in the show?
Actually, he said to me over messages the other day, I was asking him how's things going. The team just bought him new skates, new sticks. Obviously, he doesn't like it because he's been using his old stuff for however long. I mean, he's still rocking a Red Wings bag, a San Jose Sharks, under apparel. So he likes what he likes. And I said, how's things going? How's it looking? He says, buddy, I'm going to be in the National League this time next year. Just you count on it.
Oh, wouldn't that be something?
No, I'm not laughing because I don't think it's realistic. I mean, the guy played 500 games. I just think it's funny that the first thing he comes out of his mouth is with absolute confidence. Because I know the way that he speaks. Having conversations with him every day before practice. Buddy, right to the National. Don't you worry. Pride of Steinbach, Manitoba there. So happy for him. And good personal friend of both yours and mine.
There's nothing like a rise to success story, but no one loves a comeback story more than Middle America. I'll tell you that. They love a good comeback story.
That's very true. Another thing on the Fed Zeno note that I just found out recently, and I find this hard to believe, and I promise you, I know you and I like to BS love on the show. To everybody listening, whether you're in the car on Apple or Spotify or the video version here on YouTube, this is true. The Fed Zeno, the FPHL, that pays us $125 a week, a perk as being a player, you get 20% off at Lululemon, an exclusive 20% off. And I know that sounds great, right? You have these nice clothes at Lululemon. You have, they're very expensive. It's nice to get a nice chunk of change off there. Unfortunately, when you only make $125 a week, you'll never be able to afford to go there even with the discounts, which I just find so ironic. Like, of all the places, Lululemon. But it's true. If you go to Lululemon and you tell them, hey, I'm a professional athlete in the FPHL, 20% off anywhere in North America. True story.
There was a period of time where they were, because they constantly change up all of their stuff, and you're absolutely right, it is pricey, but they had these really nice yoga pants that was like this really tight plaid, and they were like a light brown, and I was able to get away with wearing them on the golf course because they looked like golf pants. And then they had this like really light yoga with the shirt with the collar. I was able to get away with that one too, and I thought, man, if Lululemon was smart, they should get into the golf game. Like it's lightweight, it's breathable. For the guys that are out playing in Florida at the Honda Open this weekend or the Honda Classic, guys like that. I mean, I'm watching Full Swing on Netflix right now, which is like their behind the scenes documentary, 8-part documentary. And there's a shot of Colin Morikawa, and Adidas is there with him right now. They're like, check out the material. Like, are you okay with us making a shirt out of this? It's lightweight, it breathes. You're going to be okay out there. Like, they go through all this stuff. And I thought, I almost feel like Lululemon was a little ahead of the curve on that one.
Because they were founded in the late 90s, right? Late 90s?
Yeah, somewhere around there, yeah.
And based out of Vancouver. And I remember when I was in high school, from like grade 9, where like you're just going that awkward stage, like elementary school to high school, to like when you hop over to grade 10, because now you're a seasoned vet, just this explosion of like every female in high school is wearing the yoga pants, like that look, that styling. I don't know if there is a styling to it, but like that's a Lululemon pant, and they.
Well, you know what it does. Like I don't know how Lululemon did it, but I used to call it the magic ass pants, because whatever they do, they also no, it's true. They make the bum 20% better. It just kind of picks it up and moves it and shapes it in a certain way, and then it was supposed to be used for yoga, and then it just became a fashion thing, and that's when it just went shoo, and shot through the roof.
Because I remember the guys in the locker room when I was playing AA hockey at 15, guys were talking about these. They're supposed to be for yoga. Like they're supposed to only wear them at yoga. Now they're wearing them at school. They're wearing them at the gym. They're everywhere. So it was an absolute game changer. And obviously, being in high school, being little frisked up on a regular basis, it's kind of nice to see that in the halls. Can I say that at 26?
Luckily, us guys, we have something that is a well-kept secret for some and a well-known fixer for others, and that is Sheath Underwear. And you can get a much better deal than the 20% off if you use the promo code Bizkit69. Is that right?
Absolutely, that's correct.
See, I'm nailing this stuff. Sheath is an incredible set of underwear. If you're getting to the point where you're frustrated with your boxer shorts or your tighty whities, especially if you're a boxer brief kind of person, bamboo lightweight mesh. It breathes. It's got a spot for all your stuff down there, and they didn't forget about the ladies. They've got a line of sports bras as well, and yoga bras that you can, I don't know if they kind of have a cross between there, sport bra, yoga bra, whatever you want to call it.
Bralette would be the terminology.
That's the one. See, there you go. I'm not very up in the knowledge when it comes to ladies' undergarments. But believe me when I tell you that this stuff is an absolute game changer. I can't speak for the bralettes, but I can speak for the underwear. Absolute game changer. Once you get a pair on, you'll want to fill your entire underdrawer with nothing but Sheath underwear.
Absolutely. The bamboo mesh is cooling. The dual pouch, the segregated, separated compartment that makes sure your dick and your balls don't stick together to the side of your leg. I love it every morning when I'm making coffee in my beautiful red Sheath underwear. I got my cup of joe when the coffee's hot and the coffee's strong, and then the missus walks into the kitchen and says, "Wow, it's looking actually very, very, very juicy today." And I said, "Actually, honey, it's still the same 3 inches from the night before. However, the propping up and the underwear do all the work." It's like my surgeon the other day. My surgeon measures my internal rotation by how much he can force out of it, and my physio guy measures it by when I start resisting him. And I said, "What's the difference?" He says, "Oh, nothing actually changes. It's just the way you measure." And I said, "It's the exact same way with Sheath. Whether I tell you it's a 5 or a 3, you're still getting the same performance and the same package, and it's going to make you look good." And as Dave mentioned, you go to the link in the video description, the code Bizkit69, BIZKIT 69, will get you 20% off. It's the same discount as the Fed gives on Lululemon, but you'll be getting a much better product at a much cheaper price. And again, Sheath is truly...
And you don't have to play in the Fed.
You don't have to play in the Fed. Go on the 12-hour bus trips and have pizza every single meal and chicken parmesan at the Olive Garden, get the food poisoning $5 special, and then get chew spit thrown on you by the amazing fans. And actually, I should leave that out of the... Anyway, moving on here. Dave, you want to talk about something different?
Well, speaking of guys who love coffee, I'm kind of in this... I don't know. I'm at a crossroads right now because I like drinking coffee. Keep in mind, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to prep for my morning show, and it starts at 6 a.m. Locally here in Winnipeg. And so I got into coffee. I actually used to be a Coca-Cola drinker, like a mass amounts of Coca-Cola. Like I'm talking probably close to 1.5 to 2 liters a day throughout the course of the day of Coca-Cola. I got to the point where I was buying flats of cans and just leaving those, like an entire shelf in the bottom, like those are Dad's Coca-Colas. Now, my argument for drinking Coca-Cola instead of coffee back when I was in my 20s and 30s was I've heard people go in the office before and go, "Oh, coffee's bad today. Ooh, coffee's good today." My Coca-Cola was consistent. It was the same thing every day. It got the same amount of caffeine, same amount of sugar. It was perfect. But after consulting with my doctor about the amount of sugar that I was getting and some of the things I was starting to see in my body, I was like, well, bye-bye Coca-Cola. And I said, can I go to like a Diet Coke? And he says, no, there's still aspartame in there. That's probably not something you want to do. He says, honestly, black coffee is the way to go. So I've been doing black coffee now for the past few years, and it's been great. I've been enjoying it. I've been trying different flavors, and I always found it too bitter. But once you cut Coca-Cola out and you need your caffeine, you'll find a fill real quick. But I'm at a crossroads now because I drink so much coffee in the morning. When I go and try and take my midday nap, I'm too jittery. I'm like, well, I can't nap today. And so I stopped drinking coffee. So I've tried to not drink coffee during the show so I can have a nap in the afternoon. And it's just I'm all over the place. I'm all over the place. I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know what to do with my hands.
I piss excellence every morning. You see this? Hey, Ricky, how do you turn the stereo up? So, anyway, I got to stop monologuing. I kind of found the opposite, to be honest with you. I get my cup of joe, like that's the first thing. Get up out of bed, fire up the cup of joe. But I find it helps me sleep, actually. Like I could literally, I'm going to have a confession here. I have espresso beans up here in the kitchen. I don't know why, but I've been using the espresso beans to make my pour-over coffee with espresso. And I could drink it 45 minutes, an hour before bed, fall asleep, no problem. I remember reading sometime that apparently coffee could help you fall asleep. I don't know if somebody in the video on YouTube, on the YouTube podcast, has an answer as to why, but yeah.
I think it could be an age thing because I was the same way. Keep in mind with Coca-Cola, I'd drink 3 cans for breakfast during the show and then be able to fall asleep after. So I think it's an age thing. At this point now, caffeine's affecting me differently. It's possible. I don't know.
Hey, as long as you got the coffee hot and the coffee strong, that's all that matters. Mm-hmm. Actually, I have a date next week. No, I have a beautiful girlfriend in the city of Vancouver. If you're watching the video version,
you can still go on a date with her. You should take your girl on a date all the time.
I take her on a date every Sunday, but I have a date with. I gotta watch my wording here. I have a date with the starting goalie of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Mr. Matt Murray, next week.
Oh yeah, I guess they're in town to play the Canucks, right?
Yes, they are. They are in town to play the Canucks. We. So I don't know the exact details. Him and I were talking the other day, and he says, just shoot me a text, a day or two before, and let's kind of map it out, because obviously they don't know the travel schedule that far in advance, and obviously you're playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Only God knows what's going to happen between now and then. But we're supposed to go to old Tim Hortons, and he's a Thunder Bay boy up northern Thunder Bay, Ontario, and he loves, in his own words, Matt Murray loves a good old dirty double-double, a dirty double-D, and crushing some Timbits. I think birthday cake is his go-to flavor. I'll check that. I'll confirm that for you, Dave. But if you want to go off a little bit on that,
I'll be honest with you. I've never been a big Tim Hortons guy. I actually got a buddy who runs 2 Tim Hortons out in Campbell River, out in the island on the west coast, not too far from you. So if you ever take the boat over to Campbell River, ask for Darcy and see if he's at one of the Tim Hortons out there, and he'll take good care of you. But I don't know. I don't know what it is. If I had my choice, I'm probably going through the drive-thru at Mickey D's.
So just to confirm,
For
it's
coffee.
Chocolate, old-fashioned, and birthday cake are the Matt Murray go-tos. Now, I don't know if that's going to be Timbits or the full size, but that's what we're going to be doing. Hopefully, I don't know if he's down. I just got this idea.
Try their new pizza. They got pizza now.
I heard about. I know Tyler was talking about that. Your morning host on the morning show. I wonder if I can convince Matt Murray to crush a post-morning skate pizza at Tim Hortons.
Yeah, it's flatbread. It's thin. You can get away with it. It'll be fine.
He said he wants a dirty double D and some birthday cake and old-fashioned Timbits. But I was thinking to myself the other day. So there's I think it's very well known at this point in time. McDonald's has the old Tim Hortons coffee. Reason being, McDonald's was coming into the McCafe game. This is when they were doing, I think, quarterly free coffee day, where you can come drink as many coffees as you want free on the house because they knew it was good stuff. So McDonald's was trying to get the same supplier as Tim Hortons, and the supplier said, sorry, we have an exclusive deal with Tim Hortons. We can't sell it to you. Well, the guys at McDonald's at Rotten Ronnie's Wonderland, Uncle Mac's Steakhouse, says, you know what? We're going to buy you out. So they bought out the whole company, told Tim Hortons, get your new coffee somewhere else. And now McDonald's has the old Tim Hortons coffee. And I agree with you, Dave. I think the McDonald's coffee is significantly better than Tim Hortons. But there's something about, and I was talking to Victoria about this the other day, I think there's something about going to Starbucks. It's not the greatest coffee in the world. Absolutely not. But the environment, the smell, the vibes, it's inducing. It's intoxicating. I've been going to Starbucks to get my nitro cold brew with some vanilla. Well, my waters as well, but I've actually been buying stuff recently, believe it or not. Cold brew with a little bit of vanilla sweet cold foam. And although the coffee is good, it's not the world's greatest coffee. And I think to myself, is this worth $6? Is it worth $7? No, I get like 5 of these at McDonald's right now because they're doing dollar coffee days. So, yeah, thoughts?
Well, if my wife does like the Starbucks, and if I'm going there, then I'm really going to treat myself. And you're right, I'm not necessarily going for the coffee. Like, I'm going there to have a dessert, basically. So I get the caramel macchiato. Like, I want the foam. I want this mustache full of foam when I'm drinking that thing, right? Like, I'm treating myself. I'm having a self-love day if I'm going to Starbucks. But as far as just a regular bean, yeah, I'll either go with something out of the aisle at my local grocer, something that looks like it's from a coffee-rich nation. You know what I mean? Like, actually, I've really been trying to support Kicking Horse out of Golden, BC.
Okay.
Try that if you get a chance. That's a really good brew. The odd time I'll go down south. I'm done with the whole Colombian bean is the best bean you will ever have. I've actually found better coffees coming out of like Oaxaca, Mexico and stuff. So believe me when I tell you, I've tried around. But as far as drive-throus, yeah, McDonald's is where I'm going to go first. If I can find like a local cafe that serves coffee that has like a few different kinds, not just like if decaffeinated and caffeinated, and that's it. That's not the coffee I'm going for. But yeah, I'm with you on the Starbucks thing. A lot of times too, it's the experience. I mean, it's like you want to feel like you have the red carpet rolled out for you when you go somewhere, right?
Absolutely. Actually, I found that when going to coffee spots, if you ask them, hey, do you guys have 100% real maple syrup? That's when you find a really, really good spot because it's almost impossible to find. It's kind of like with, I remember 5 years ago trying oat milk for the first time. It was great. And so I'd start asking places, you got oat milk? Do you have oat milk? And if the place had oat milk, it was great. If they didn't, it was trash. And actually, to kind of bring things back to what we talked about earlier with Motor City, the guys have a little bit of a gambling problem, both in Motor City and the Fedzino. You're not playing the Fedzino because you're a sane human being, shall we say. And guys would put money. Is Trav going to ask for 100% maple syrup and or oat milk at the restaurant? And that was a lock. He was going to ask every single time. And the follow-up on the parlay, are they going to have it? And that was also a lock because nobody had it. I'd not one time in Harrington, Delaware, Binghamton, New York, Watertown, New York, or anywhere else for Travel, Port Huron, Motor City, wherever, not one place had 100% maple syrup. So if you're listening out there and if you're in Vancouver, where I am right now, if you're in Winnipeg, where Mr. Wheeler is, or in Motor City next season, or wherever I end up, if you have a coffee spot and you can have access to 100% maple syrup, I will make that my watering hole and I will come down. You need maple syrup.
You should just get to the point, who was it, Elf, in the movie Elf, when he just pulls the maple syrup out of his sleeve? He brings his own, puts it on his spaghetti. Yeah, start bringing your own. You can import that.
The 100% maple syrup, not the Aunt Jemima stuff. Although, don't get me wrong, Aunt Jemima's good. Mrs. Buttersworth, they got a great bottle, but the 100% pure stuff, you can't compare it. Right out of the tree. Give it to me right out of the tap.
I'll take Aunt J every time.
I know. My mom is probably listening to the podcast right now on Monday. My mom listens on Monday. She's probably having her pancakes with that 10-pound bucket of Aunt Jemima. She's probably putting it on the pancakes right now as she's listening. So, Mom, I love you and I miss you. Looking forward to seeing you next month as well.
Speaking of coffee, I had a couple cups of coffee before I went out, and a little while ago went out and saw one of my favorite hardcore punk bands out of Winnipeg, band by the name of Comeback Kid. Had to travel a little bit to go see them. Man, oh man, were they ever worth it. And wanted to make sure that the old 43-year-old managed to stay up for the whole show, so I had a couple coffees late in the night to make sure that I could make it through the end of the show.
It was a good show.
Okay, they're one of those bands that have been doing this for 20 years. They've had a couple of lineup changes. It's hardcore punk, so it's a lot of rah 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 with like your classic. So it's acquired taste. I get it, but the show that Andrew Neufeld puts on, you can tell he's from Winnipeg. So he's a Neufeld. Andrew Neufeld and Jeremy, their guitar player, the show that they put on and the way he moves around the stage, and he just orchestrates the crowd. It doesn't matter if there's 200 people in the crowd or 2,000 people in the crowd. Get up to the front right now. Spin in a circle. Jump up and down. Put your right hand up. Put your left hand down. Shake it all about. Like, he can literally make the crowd do whatever he wants, and he gives, for all the energy he asks from them, he gives it right back. Like, he is literally drenched by the time the show is done. And then it's just, I'm done. Nice to see you, Will. See you later. Yeah, incredible. One of the most lively, incredible live shows you'll ever see.
That's awesome. That's amazing. I was going to say, too, on the Winnipeg band's topic, I was talking to Dave Brenner, lead guitar player for Theory of a Deadman. This is probably about a year ago. They were recording their brand new album in I believe it was Stockholm, Sweden. It might have been Gothenburg. I can't remember. But they were recording their new album then when I was there. And then me and Dave ended up talking a little bit. And he says to me, hey, next time we start playing shows, because they didn't have any dates booked at that point in time, I'll get you set up with tickets. You let me know when. So obviously they announced their new tour with Disturbed. And I said, hey, man, can we get some Vancouver tickets? And he says, everybody in the band's from Vancouver. Can you make the Winnipeg show? And I says, absolutely, I can make the Winnipeg. If you get me tickets, I will fly to Winnipeg and I will go. I'll take Mr. Wheeler. I'll take my dad, who can't hear at all. He'll enjoy that quite nicely. And we'll go listen to Disturbed or In Theory of a Deadman as the opener and get the VIP passes. So there's some good shows in Winnipeg coming up as well.
Next time you talk to him, tell Travis to grow that mustache back. The band's just not the same without it.
Who?
When he used to have the handlebar mustache, Travis, their lead singer.
Oh, Tyler Connolly, you mean?
Tyler, yes. Yeah, he needs to grow the handlebar back. I think it's sweet.
Yeah. The OG. What was the album? Their debut album. Nothing Could Come Between Us.
When you left Santa Monica.
He was clean shaven at that point. It was their first album, the Make Up Your Mind and Nothing Could Come Between Us. That was when he was rocking the handlebars, and then he went clean shaven. Actually, I told Dave when him and I were talking, I sent him pictures of the last ticket stub when I went to their concert in Winnipeg back in 2014, and I says not only was I at the show then, but I've been listening before Tyler shaved off the handlebars mustache. Can you hear that noise? There's a garbage truck dumping garbage everywhere.
Is that what that is? I thought they're supposed to do the opposite.
From what I'm seeing, first day on the job, my God. I don't know if you can hear this. So the machine is picking up the garbage thing and swinging it back, bringing it back down, swinging it back, bringing it. It's got to be a guy first day on the job, and he just keeps hitting the button, and he's just thrashing this thing around. My goodness. That garbage man's going to be in the witness protection program.
Maybe he's working for the Sopranos. Who knows?
Sorry, he works for the city. He gets paid by the hour, so he's trying to milk out as much as he possibly can.
Speaking of garbage, how about the garbage coming out of Brad Marchand's fingers the other day? So as it stands right now, I think it's down.
Great transition, by the way. That's 25 years of radio right there.
So as it stands right now, it looks like Seattle, Edmonton, and there's one other one that are being considered for the 2025 All-Star Game, because they already announced that 24 is going to be in downtown Toronto, and they're looking at 25 right now. And Brad Marchand said, "Whew, can't wait to see how many guys boycott that game if they get selected as an All-Star." Because, I mean, listen, of course you want to go down to Florida, spend a weekend in Florida. Yeah, Tampa, Sunshine State, sure. LA, sounds awesome. Dallas, why not? But the second, like Edmonton, at the end of January, grew up in that area. It ain't pretty. It's not like one of those things like, okay, we can look at the summer schedule and know that we're going to book our golf tournament for this weekend because those are the best odds of having sunshine for that weekend, and more often than not, you're going to get sunshine. You can pretty much bank the same way. It's like, okay, so the end of January in Edmonton, you can expect anywhere from minus 30 to minus 40 with the wind chill. And great, sounds good. We'll bring in people from the world, and we'll put them up in hotels, and hopefully they don't have to go outside. All-Star game in Edmonton it is. So I understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, I'm sure the people in Edmonton would support the crap out of it, and you probably couldn't have a lot of outdoor events like shooting pucks at surfboards like you did in Florida. But they'd be able to figure it out. They got West Edmonton Mall. They could probably do some cool stuff in around there. They'd be able to showcase the city extremely well. They're not ignorant of the fact that it's cold out there. You're probably just going to get more people from Canada traveling there to see it rather than people down south in America that are going to travel to Edmonton to go see a game in minus 40 weather. I get it.
Well, I mean, you and me could take the train or even drive down. We could go. It's not that far away. And I mean, also too, if you're the guy is still thrashing that garbage can around. By the way, speaking of trash, if you're in Edmonton though, you're only a 4 hour drive away from Jasper, Alberta, getting the mountains there in Jasper National Park. Or best part about Edmonton, you're 3 hours away from getting down to Calgary, which is an hour and a half away from Banff. So there is some upside there. But because you grew up there, I remember you saying before on your morning show, Edmonton is Winnipeg with cash. Right?
Oh yeah, 100%. So I mean, keep in mind, I grew up 4.5 hours northeast of Edmonton, a city called Fort McMurray, Alberta, which was a boomtown. Literally, my parents moved there and watched the city get built overnight. The city was so new in the late 70s that they didn't have street names yet. Reminds me of the old Bono song, or the U2 song, where the streets have no name. It was Area 1, Area 2, Area 3, Area 4, Area 5, and then eventually they named them to like Thickwood, Beacon Hill, Abbotsand, whatnot. But Edmonton was a 4.5 hour drive. I remember specifically waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. If a couple families would get together, we'd say, all right, let's go. And we'd drive all the way, and we'd get to the West Edmonton Mall by the time the doors open, spend all day there, do the water park, wait for it to close, and the parents would drive back, and we'd be home shortly after midnight and just spend a day in Edmonton, just a day trip. And the thing about Edmonton in comparison to Winnipeg is that Edmonton has the refineries. Edmonton has the money. Edmonton has the big labor jobs. Winnipeg doesn't have that. Winnipeg has got agriculture and a little bit of trade, but yeah, they're essentially the same city, same great people, wholesome people. One's just got a lot more money than the other one's a little more cash to throw around. Only difference between the two.
I don't know if you feel the same way. This is a feeling that I've kind of gotten in the last week. Although I've been in Vancouver for almost 2 months now, living here with my girlfriend in an apartment, Although I haven't gone away for hockey, which I think changes things because like when I go to like Motor City or anywhere else I go, it's like I'm going for hockey. I'm going to come back and then I'll go back and see my family. I miss my family, and I think to myself, A, these Vancouver rent prices are outrageous. I don't know if I really want to pay these prices the rest of my life. And then B, I kind of miss my family, and I kind of miss my flat in Winnipeg where, like we talked about in previous episodes, your dog runs away. Oh, that's okay. You can keep tabs on it for about 3 days before you finally lose sight of it. You see the flat prairies, the people, and although I don't miss the minus 40 cold snap you're going through right now, I do miss that 3-week pocket in between May and June and August and September where it's like plus 20. It's not too hot, not too cold, not too humid. It's that perfect temperature. But yeah, I do miss Winnipeg a little bit.
You're a prairie boy at heart. You take the boy. You can take the boy out of the prairies, but you can't take the prairies out of the boy.
I found this too, and if anybody's watched my videos for an extended period of time, I think that you probably realize this, is when I'm in Winnipeg, okay, it's Winnipeg. But when I go away, I'm a patriotic Winnipegger. I love Winnipeg. Go Jets, go. It's just, like you said, you can't take the prairie out of the boy. And I become a religious Winnipeg advocate, Manitoba lover, no matter where I go.
Well, we're getting to the tail end of our scheduled time here. I never mind going over, but since you mentioned how much you love the Jets and everything, I want to send a shout out to Connor Hellebuyck, who put up a incredible performance in New York last week. Holy smokes! You always talk about you need to find a goaltender that can steal games. Like that's what happened this past week with the Jets visiting the Rangers. Stops 50 shots, 50 shots, 51 shots on net. In Winnipeg, 21 shots on the other end. Jets still managed to win 4-1. That's a goaltender that'll steal you games. That's a goaltender that'll get you into the promised land.
I think what's even crazier about that performance, I was looking at the stat breakdown, and 48 of the 51 shots were deemed as a quality chance.
High quality shot. It wasn't just a shot from the point outside with a whole bunch of people in front. They were quality shots.
Now, I'm very conflicted about this. Andrei Vasilevsky is the greatest goaltender in the world just based on, we talked about this before, winning is what I think is the definition of a good goaltender. Okay, you ran a .930 during the season, you won the Vezina, you're flashy, you're technical, great. I want wins. Winning is what matters. We play the game to win. Anybody that says otherwise is full of shit. So Vasilevsky, therefore, by default, I think is the greatest goaltender on the planet because, when it comes to closing out games, he pitches a shutout. He's got back-to-back-to-back cup final appearances and 2 cups. He's just a closer. Mm-hmm. If there's a second place, it's Connor Hellebuyck. Like the guy, single-handedly, since Buff, Tyler Myers, and who am I forgetting on the back end? There's a third guy that left the Jets.
Oh, we lost Poolman. We lost, what's his name, to Montreal. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Ben Sherratt, yep. So they lost the whole D-core, and Connor Hellebuyck says, don't worry, guys, I got it. It's okay. You give me $6 million, I might as well earn it. I'll get the 7th rebound, too. So second best goaltender in the world, maybe not a quote-unquote winner, but I love Connor Hellebuyck. He's my favorite guy to watch. Same height as me, 6'4". Well, I mean, he's almost 6'5", but I'm 6'5". Anyway, tall guy, technical, extremely technical, not a lot of flexibility, but just a very elite thinker. Probably the best hockey IQ of any goaltender in the game. Not a great puck handler, maybe just stay in your net, Bucky, but what a world-class goaltender. Easily my favorite goaltender to watch. I wish I could meet him and have lunch with him. I'd love to pick Bucky's brain just on a couple things. I know my mom is not a big fan. My mom thinks that he looks like kind of like a rat, and he kind of does look like just facially. But a world-class goaltender.
Maybe him and Marchand are related.
They could be. Like bring your kid to work day. You got Marchand at 5'8", and then Connor Hellebuyck at 6'4".
I'll tell you. I hope he's in the conversation for the Vezina again this year, but I will take a deep run in the playoffs over a Vezina trophy. That's for sure.
So here's just an idea. Just came in my head right now. All-Star game, the Marchand goaltenders. I was thinking, instead of the BS shooting pucks at surfboards idea, what if they had I know we talked about it before. What if they had a goalie fighting competition, like a King of the Ring, like the other night when you had Copley and Gibson, and Gibson's nonchalant just skating to the blue line, he's tapping his stick, hey, come on down, and Copley gets sight of him, throws everything off with a fist of rage, in the words of Kid Rock. He's going straight at him, and then obviously the referees separate him because the game doesn't want fights between goaltenders anymore, because that's your team right there. You lose your guy, you're in trouble, but they don't want the fights happen anymore. But it would be great to see a goalie fighting competition. I would pay good money for that. I would generally pay for that on pay-per-view.
Well, I'll say this, and there's things that you need to do to make that whole weekend a little more exciting. And I, as much as I give the NHL crap for shooting pucks at a surfboard, at least they're doing something. But I got to give credit where credit is due. And I don't know if this was an NBA mandate or if this was on the 76ers. But there's a guy by the name of Mac McClung, and he is a former...
what a name, by the way.
Right? He's a Georgetown graduate, played some NCAA ball, was undrafted. So he ended up signing 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks before the NBA All-Star Game, signs in the NBA G League, which is essentially their American Hockey League. And they bring him up just for the dunk contest. The guy's 6'2", 185, and he's got a vertical of 46.5 inches. It's ridiculous. Like, this guy could jump through the roof. 6'2", and he almost hit his head on the rim when he was doing dunks. He cleaned up, like cleaned house. He finished off with a 720 dunk, and he'll probably never see a minute in the NBA beyond this season. But they just signed him for the slam dunk competition. Unreal.
Do we know if he's single or married, or what's the relationship status?
Why are you curious?
Well, I'm thinking he comes home after a hard day at the court, at the arena. He comes home and throws his gym bag down. Hey, honey, you want the McClung? Taking the definition of laying pipe to a new level.
I thought you were going to say when the wife says jump, you ask how high, because I can go as high as you want. You have 46.5 inches. You want halfway? You want 23? I can jump as high as you want. No, honestly, it's worth a YouTube if you haven't seen it yet. Some of the dunks this guy was doing. The Stephen A. Smith even said this guy just single-handedly saved the NBA slam dunk contest because it's been boring for like the past 5 years.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The commentators pulled out the OG Vince Carter. It's over, ladies and gentlemen, for the call on that.
It's over. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. So there you go. Talk about something else. I don't want to wrap on the NBA.
Okay. Two things that we had to finish here. We got the Jake Paul fight, which we'll get to in a second. But I know it's gonna be up and done by the time this podcast goes up, unless they go the absolute distance. Who knows? But I'm looking forward to the Jake Paul Tommy Fury fight. Hopefully he shows up. I really hope that he does show up because I'm looking forward to streaming a great boxing match on Saturday night for free when I use one of my legal streaming platforms with NordVPN on one of our previous sponsors. Hopefully they come back for some more ads. # no free ads. But if by the way, if anybody needs a good free streaming website, send me a message. I'll hook you up.
I'll be honest with you. This is the closest Jake Paul has ever had to a real boxer in the ring. This is the close. And the guy's the little brother of Tyson Fury, the current heavyweight champion of the world. So that's his resume. Hey, do you box? Well, my older brother's heavyweight champion, so I'm sure I can figure it out. That's the closest thing Jake Paul has ever fought to a boxer thus far.
It's crazy that the way they break it down is like, well, you beat up Tyron Woodley. He was 40. You beat up Anderson Silva, and he was 50. But you didn't really beat him up. You just made it the distance. You're fighting a real boxer, young, very good looking also at 23 years old, and Tommy Fury, who is the younger brother of Tyson Fury, who Jake Paul, for whatever reason, seems to get along very smashingly well with Tyson Fury, which I don't understand how the dad hates Jake Paul, and it's just a very interesting dynamic.
I think he promoted his last fight. Like, he's getting into that game now where he's promoting fights. Like, Jake Paul has got some dollar bills in his pocket, and like, he's no dummy. There's a reason why he went over to Saudi to get this done, because they know they've got deeper pockets than he do.
On the words of Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit, $3 bills, y'all.
Man, I'm telling you. And look, what does Jake want? Does Jake want to make money? Yep. Does he want to put on an entertaining fight so he can make money? Yep. Is he going to achieve that? Likely. So
kind of bring things full circle, though. You could almost relate it back to what I mentioned earlier with one of the teams in the Fedzino willing to make me the highest paid goaltender in the league, not because I'm the best goaltender. I'm by far from it. Do I have aspirations to become a top 3 best goaltender in the league? Absolutely. But because it's going to make the team money, and we're going to build the team up there within the community, marketing wise, and bring asses in the seats.
Bingo.
Jake's doing that as well.
Bingo. No, you're absolutely right.
On a much smaller scale.
Well, if you want to hear how that fight went down and and what I thought of it, feel free to download the Wheeler in the Morning podcast, or you can tune in live at energy106.ca Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, or Central Time, I should say. And I'll be chirping about that one on Monday morning. That's for sure.
And got to give a shout out to John. John out of Hamilton. He's actually been messaging me a lot. He's been listening to your Wheeler After Dark podcast as well. He's been loving the whole thing. So, shout out to John.
All right. Well, thank you, John. I hope you don't have sensitive ears, and obviously not if you've listened through to more than one episode.
Yeah, John cranks them all out every Sunday, to my knowledge, from what he tells me on his car rides down in the corridor in the Toronto, Ottawa-ish area. So, shout out to you, John. One last thing. I think we got a couple minutes left. One thing I wanted to finish off on was I've personally kind of gotten into a little bit of a early 2000s rock and roll kick, and I know that you're not maybe good friends with him, but you've gotten to know him a little bit. Shaun Morgan of Seether, early 2000s band. One of, I think, the most underrated bands of the 21st century. Just these hard, heavy-driven guitars, kind of very moody lyrics and vocals, and just a great overall sound, a three-piece band. I know, Dave, you've gotten to know him a little bit personally.
I had a cup of coffee with him, literally, because he's a big coffee drinker. But, yeah, we did an interview with them down at the bowling alley on Regent Avenue way back in the day. And the thing about Shaun Morgan, he's only happy if he's depressed. Does that make sense?
No, please explain.
Okay, so he writes the same thing Trent Reznor said once upon a time. He goes, am I happy sometimes? Sure. I just don't write music when I'm happy. I write music when I'm depressed. And Shaun Morgan was the same way. I mean, when he was dating Amy Lee, they came out with some very gothic love songs, but he wrote his best stuff after they broke up, and he was heartbroken. It's kind of like Taylor Swift. That's why she keeps breaking up with these boys, so she can have material to write on her new record. But Shaun Morgan from South Africa, nice enough gentleman, long hair, and yeah, he's happier when he's depressed. There you go.
And a huge beard. I don't know if that's a post March of 2020 thing, but massive beard. Looks more grizzled than me in this flannel lumberjack shirt. But
grow yours out. It'll go well with the flannel.
I am going to try to grow my beard out a little bit. I'm going to try to compete with Joe Pace and Big Z in Motor City and also Charlie Pence Jr. in Watertown. Try to compete for the best beard in the league next season. But Shaun Morgan, like you mentioned, dates Amy Lee from Evanescence. The what's the song?
The one they did together?
Me up. Yeah, no, the Bring Me to Life.
Oh,
song.
yeah, that's Evanescence.
Yeah, that's Amy Lee's big song, as well as Going Under, great song. But so married to Amy Lee, they split up, and then also I don't know if you know this or not, probably do, but Shaun Morgan's brother, 2006, commits suicide, jumped off of a building, and although terrible that you lost the love of your life and your brother in a very small period of time. Best music was written out of there. I mean, there's an interview quote I saw from Shaun one time saying, "I wish I could write every song the way that I wrote Remedy or Fine Again or Rise Above This. All elite, great tracks, but obviously you can't write those songs all the time if you're feeling up and happy. You're not going through a tough time. But unreal band, unreal sound. I love the heavy drop down sound that he has. I've been going through a little bit of a kick on Karma and the Effect. Karma and the Effect, best album from Seether. I'm kind of going off, but big fan of Shaun Morgan and Seether over here.
I was going to tell you to get into Comeback Kid, but I don't think you're ready for it yet. You stick with the Sad Bastard music for a little while, and then we'll graduate you on to Comeback Kid.
One final thing. You went bowling with him. How was his bowling? Was he any good?
No, not really at all. And neither was I. And so we just kind of laughed about that. And it was more of a win your way in listener thing. So people got to go bowling, and the whole place was packed. That was fun. I bowled with Jimmy Eat World once upon a time too. Jim Adkins, great guy. I know he's a big fan of this podcast.
Is he actually?
No.
Oh, with or without the gutters were you bowling?
Oh yeah, we put the bumpers down every time. You kidding me? We're there to have fun. We're not there to compete.
Thought you're absolutely sloshed, and Sean's just trying to throw a strike, and he's putting it 3 lanes over. But hey, when you're crippled, anything goes, right?
Yeah, not the biggest sport down in South Africa. They don't do much of the bowling.
I promise. Last comment. I didn't think he was from South Africa. Like when you listen to the music, I thought the absolute furthest thing from South Africa. But then you listen to an interview and you hear him speak, and you're like, holy, like that is a South African man right there. Wow. Yeah,
well, listen, you don't think that Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day is an American until he actually does an interview because he gains an accent every time he opens his mouth behind a microphone. Anyways, wrap it up.
You gave me 60 seconds? 60 seconds. All right. Shall we close it off here, Dave?
Yes, please. We'll talk again next week, as always. And thank you again to Sheath Underwear for taking care of my boys.
Yes, thank you to Sheath Underwear for being the presenting sponsor for this podcast. And a friendly reminder, if you're on the YouTube video version, please hit subscribe. I think 70% of the people that listen to this podcast on YouTube are not subscribed, so hit the button, hit the like button, leave a comment. We'd like to talk to you. I respond to all the comments. I know Dave doesn't have social media, but I try to reply to everybody and try to get a little bit of a conversation going in the comments, so it'd be much appreciated. If you're on Apple or Spotify, leave a little review, a little 5-star review. Tell us what you think. Much appreciated. And we do new episodes every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 in Winnipeg, 9 in Calgary, 8 on the West Coast of Vancouver, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, and we both look forward to seeing you next week for hopefully some more good updates in Motor City and the Fed Zeno. Have a good night, everybody.